Another very simple way to turn the focus back on them. This one is straight out of Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, with a little bit of flavor, I hope, that I've realized from my own experience. This one is remembering and saying their name. As Dale Carnegie says, no sound is as beautiful in any language as the sound of a person's name. And I realized this to great effect. This was very recent. I've been doing MMA classes, which is sort of like Muay Thai, boxing, wrestling, all that kind of stuff. And one of the coaches there, who is not like a super outgoing, charismatic dude, I realized that I was walking out. I go, like, I love him. He's like a great coach. I really like him. I can't wait to go to one of his fights. And I was thinking about why him. There's this other coach who is more gregarious, more funny. This guy's just sort of, he's quieter. But I realized that the first day that we met, he got everybody in the class's name, and for the rest of that class, used everybody's name. So he'd say, "Good job, Charlie, keep up out of Dakota." And then when I walked in a week later, and he saw me walking in the lobby, he said, "How you doing, Charlie? You coming to class?" And I said, "Yeah." And it made me realize, like, that made me feel so liked by him. And what's funny is it made Dakota feel liked by him as well. He took the time, the effort to remember everybody's name, which made such a huge impact. Now, I know a lot of people, the first instinct to this is, I'm not good with names, I'm just not going to work on that one, whatever, I'll get by without it. Do this. You're crippling yourself if you're not. It is a skill like any other. So I want to talk about some ways that you can actually work to building names more easily. The first is this. The way memory works is, and people study wrong, unfortunately, memory, you can't just like read a passage 100 times and have it stick in there and dry facts. Similarly, if I try to remember that guy's name is Dakota, that guy's name is Danny, that guy's name is Dakota, that guy's name is Danny, it does nothing for me. But if I can create some sort of image or some sort of emotional reaction and tie it to that image, then that stays. So this is true. Like, think back to your childhood. What are the moments that you remember? There are emotions or moments of high emotional intensity. Sometimes, like, maybe it was somebody broke a bone and you saw the blood and it was everywhere, right? That image is burned into your mind. Or maybe you went to Disney World and you saw the fireworks and it was so happy. That you save that. What you want to do is make names more pronounced in your memory. You don't run out of space. This isn't like a computer where you got to like delete stuff. You can just continue to add as long as you make things a little bit emotionally charged and attach an image. So for instance, there's a kid in there whose name is Dakota. And I don't even know if this is an actress, but when I looked at him, I was like, okay, what does Dakota mean to me and how can I tie it to his name? I think there's that little girl whose name is Dakota Fanning or something, and I just thought he's got little blonde hair. He's a younger guy. He's got blonde hair, she's got blonde hair. I was like, oh, Dakota Fanning, right? And I looked at him, I sort of saw them standing next to each other. And the next time I looked at him, I saw, oh, Dakota Fanning. And it was very easy for me to immediately get his name. The coach's name, Danny. For whatever reason, that immediately, the first thought that popped into my head was Tum Thumpin' by Chumbawamba, right? Oh, Danny boy, right? Sorry for the terrible singing. But there's a lyric in that song that is Danny boy. And I imagined him just for a few seconds, drinking heavily, being wasted, getting knocked down, right? And that sort of tied in with the whole MMA thing. But Danny boy, for the rest of my life, probably I'll see him and go, oh, Danny boy. And this is how you can remember a name, not just in an instance. If you've ever had this happen, like for a party, you remembered someone's name, and then you leave and you see them in a week, you're like, shoot, I don't know what their name is at this point. When you create these emotional connections, they're lasting. So this is one way. Another way that I highly, highly recommend is that during conversation with this person, you say their name repeatedly. So be like, oh, really, that's so interesting, Danny. Or as they're talking, be like, Danny, I got to tell you, I was out the other day, I saw this girl, whatever. Say their name as an interjection in conversation. Now, I have to say, a lot of people show resistance to this. They don't like to do this. And I think it's because, if my experience is at all indicative, that they're nervous that they're going to get it wrong. So they're pretty sure it's Danny, but they're not 100% sure, so they just bite their tongue. And I will tell you, this is like any other skill, right? If you're unwilling to try to shoot a basketball because you're afraid that you're going to miss, you're going to be a pretty darn crappy shooter. If you're unwilling to try to get someone's name because you're afraid that you're going to get it wrong, then you're going to be terrible at it. And I can guarantee you, in terms of charisma and in terms of making an impact on people, you are better off flubbing a few names and building this skill to get it right than you are never saying somebody's name and doing that awkward thing where you know, at the end of an interaction, you whisper to somebody, what's his name? What's his name? And hope to like gather together then. So be willing to screw this up. Another story of someone who made a really, really positive impact and sort of crystallized this for me. There was a teacher in my high school. He was a sub, so he had at one point just about every student in the high school. And he would make it his goal to remember as many names as humanly possible, right? So there's 30 kids, some of them don't even speak, and he's going through attendance, and then he's got another class and another class. And I remember one day we were walking through the hallway, and he came up and he said to me, you know, what's up, Ricky, or something. I said, what's up, Mr. Potts? It's Charlie. I said, I'm so sorry, Charlie. Like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. What is up, Charlie? Don't let me forget your name again. If I do, just slap me in the face, right? I gave a smile. Didn't feel wonderful to have my name botched, right? It was unfortunate. But two things happened. One, he never messed it up again, and that basically counteracted the screw up and made me like him even more. And this was a substitute teacher who I still remember this day as a person that I liked and as someone who cared enough about people, despite the fact that he wasn't fantastic with names, to go out of his way to learn as many as he could. So I find that the biggest thing holding people back from this name thing is a mental thing. Either they convince themselves that it's small and unimportant, as I definitely did in the past, or they convince themselves that it's not worth learning, right? Because if they screw it up, whatever. Or they just say, I'm not a name person. All of those three excuses are BS. This is a really, really powerful skill. It's said that Bill Clinton knew over 50,000 names by the time that he had finished his presidency. And many of them would pop in and out of his life at random moments, and he could call them by their name. When you can do that, it is a superpower, right? That makes people feel instantly so, so special. So work on this. When you get somebody's name, the last little tip that I'll tell you, and you know you're going to want to remember it. This is something that I happen to do with doormen, bouncers, people that I see at clubs, and you know, it's a quick interaction and then we're done. I have an Evernote where I will literally go in, and so I met the guy, his name is Les, and I'll say, Les, tall guy, blue suit, bald head, right? And I will type it into my Evernote and go on with my night. Then before I come back to the same club the next time, I'll look at it and I'll see it. And I can now I've had the experience of saying his name, writing his name. I've associated Les with a Les Paul, so I've seen him, you know, jamming out on the guitar. All of those things help me to remember his name and build that connection. Side note, he lets us into the club for free when he doesn't let anybody else in, because I go up, I shake his hand, I say, hey, what's up, Les? How's the party tonight? So remember people's names. So, so important. So, so powerful.